This is the worst part of the job. I hate cleaning. I know. The health inspector's coming tomorrow. Good thing he doesn't come every day.
I love that, Rosie. I make Tabs down in my home because she's no clean freak, if you get my drift.
There, enough cleaning. I don't want to turn into a clean freak.
Ah, that's my Rosie. And this is my favorite part of the day. Dinner time! So, while I enjoy this sugar cube, as you know, it's one of my 4 essential food groups, you can watch some freaky stories. And we're gonna have some crime stories here, which, thank goodness, is something we don't have around here.
Hey, Rosie. Sorry, I knocked over the maple syrup.
Maple syrup, huh? Hey, why don't I give myself a nice treat and top this off? Be right back. Oh, meanwhile, here's an appetizing crime story.
This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine. He's working under deep cover. For the purpose of this story, we'll use his cover name, Joe. Joe was on a counterintelligence mission investigating the ambassador from a country whose name I can't tell you. Joe assumed the identity of a traveling salesman, but his sample case was really a 60-amp high-frequency receiver. His garment bag was retrofitted with scope microphones, compact transmitters, and an assortment of antennas. Of course, we hid all these items inside of normal everyday stuff, like coat hangers, fountain pens, and wristwatches, like we always do. Joe knew you have to counter the other side's surveillance devices, and Joe was the agency's best bug sniffer. Once, Joe found a bug hidden in a raisin that was part of a rice pudding at an embassy buffet. Not to attract attention, Joe ate the rice pudding raisin, and the other country's agents spent the night eavesdropping on Joe's stomach acid reflux sounds. Now, for this mission, Joe donned his traveling salesman disguise, a flashy sports coat, a tacky tie, and a smile. So Joe checked into a hotel in the heart of Washington, D.C., the hotel where the delegates to the international conference were staying. Joe slipped the desk clerk a couple of bucks and got himself a room next to the ambassador. Before he went about setting up his devices, he checked out his surroundings to be sure he wasn't being spied on. Like I said, this was Joe's thing. He looked behind pictures, under lamps, in drawers, closets, even in the toilet bowl. In less than an hour, he came up with 2 microtransmitters, 1 body heat sensor, and 2 mini video cameras, one of which was hidden in the complimentary toothpaste tube. Just when Joe figured the room was clean, he stepped on something under the carpet. Pretty sneaky, but not sneaky enough to fool Joe. He pulled back the carpet, which required moving the dresser and the minibar. And right there, in the center of the bare floor, was the head of a bolt that was not entirely countersunk into the wood. Joe chuckled to himself. No self-respecting agent would leave such an obvious bug. Well, Joe got out his mini tools, which, of course, were hidden in his electric shaver, and he went about neutralizing the bug. Using his carbon steel sparrowbeak wrench, he tried to undo the bug bolt, but it was practically fused into place. So Joe opted for the motorized wrench which was hidden in the heel of his left wing-tipped cordovan. Sure enough, the bolt came undone, and then Joe could set out his own devices. But minutes after he started, there was a knock at the door. Again, Joe chuckled. Are they kidding? He smiled. Are they trying to pull the oldest trick in the spy handbook? The room service trick. You know, the food cart with the listening device under the pâté de foie gras. Joe opened the door.
Yeah?
But instead of the room service waiter, there was the hotel manager, who seemed pretty upset. You idiot, he blasted at Joe. You just unscrewed the chandelier in the room below you, the honeymoon suite. And that's a true story. It happened to a friend of mine. The couple in the honeymoon suite were not hurt. The chandelier just crushed one of their suitcases, which contained her bridal gown, his tuxedo, and an infrared night scope with high-frequency audio sensors.
No more spilled maple syrup, huh? Well, maybe Rosie cleaned it up. Or maybe not.
Maple syrup goes with anything.
Yeah, like here with my... What the heck happened to my dinner? I've been robbed.
What did they take?
I waited all day. I looked forward to this. And now, who is low enough and brainless enough to steal my dinner? Aha!
Huh?
You stole my dinner, J'accuse.
Was that a French song? Frère Jacques, dormez-vous.
What's with Maurice today? Whatever. I'm gonna find the thief who stole my dinner if it takes till the end of the show, which it probably will. Like any mystery, you'll get the answer on the last page, which here is before the last commercial. Meanwhile, here's another freaky story.
This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, Doris, and her kids, Michael and Amanda, who had this real ugly rat they kept as a pet. Kids today, huh? Well, George, that's the rat, died. He was chasing a Doberman. If you knew George, you could see how he could scare the bark out of any dog. Michael and Amanda loved their pet, and they were kind of upset when George got squooshed. So, they convinced their mom to give George the respectable burial he deserved at a nearby pet cemetery. The kids dug out a shopping bag, placed George inside, climbed into the station wagon, and drove to the cemetery. It was Doris who suggested they find something better than an old shopping bag for the pet that gave them so much pleasure. She pulled the wagon into the parking lot of the mall and went to the ritziest boutique. There, they bought a gift box, embossed silver foil. They laid squooshed George inside and tied the box with a lovely red bow. They got back to the car and put the box on top so they could open the hatch. That's when Doris remembered she left her credit card in the store, so she went back to get it. The kids, Amanda and Michael, got bored, so they started playing tag, running all over the place. No one gave a thought to the fact that George, in his fancy box, was sitting out there on top of the car. No one, that is, but Sonny the Swipe. He's the guy who had all those little problems with the police when he was a teenager. How could Sonny resist? There, on top of the car, was this beautiful gift box.
Yeah.
Inside of which Sonny figured was some very expensive gift. So, Sonny took off and on a dead run flew past the car and snapped up the gift box. The box had some heft to it. He smiled. There's something really worth a lot in here. Now, racing in between the cars were Michael and Amanda playing tag, and Sonny running with the stolen box. And the inevitable happened. Everybody went down, but the first one up was Sonny. He ducked into the men's room, still clutching his loot, but he was all alone. A perfect opportunity to see what he'd gone through all the trouble for. He slowly took off the bow, savoring every moment of excitement and expectation. He lifted the lid, he reached into the box, and... Sonny leapt 10 feet into the air, and he came down with a big thump. The next guy to come in saw Sonny laying there and called an ambulance. By the time the ambulance showed up, Amanda and Michael had given up the hunt, but they were attracted by the crowd around the men's room. When they got over there, the paramedics were hauling Sonny out on a stretcher. The kids recognized him as the thief, but there was no sign of the box. All they could do now was think happy thoughts about their big ugly pet rat. But back at the mall, the man who found Sonny spotted the gift box on the floor of the men's room. He ran out with the box. Poor fella don't want him to worry about losing his present. And he placed it on Sonny's chest just as he was being loaded into the ambulance. This way it'll be the first thing he sees when he awakens. This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine. As for Sonny, he got a job at the pet cemetery where he can give furry creatures, even the big ugly squooshed ones, the respect they deserve.
Come along, my dear Watson. I am using my deductive powers to ascertain the villain who absconded with my dinner.
Could you just speak English?
Haven't you ever heard of Sherlock Holmes?
I've heard of retirement homes, old age homes, and homes on the range.
Will you please?
I am on tonight.
Are you going to help me or not? I'm looking for clues here.
You should look in the clues closet.
Hey, what is going on?
Oh, it's my cousin, Shecky. He's visiting this week.
Well, yeah, I'm going to take care of your cousin Shecky, but first, I have the sugar cube here. Now listen, Maurice, I want you to keep your eye on this here sugar cube.
I thought it was keep your eye on the ball.
Well, now the ball is a cube, all right?
That's gonna make it hard to dribble.
Look, you are on a stake out here.
I'll take mine medium rare.
Excuse me, I have some drumsticks to break. Oh, here's another freaky story. Yo, Shecky, can we talk?
This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, Murray, the guy with the hat, and the nose, and the beat-up 75 junkyard special. Yeah, Murray the Moocher. Why did they call him Murray the Moocher? If you ever had breakfast with him down at Ted's Diner, you could sit there till the toast turned into penicillin before Murray would reach for the check. When the bill came, he always had to go to the bathroom, or he had to make a phone call, or he couldn't break a 50. You get stuck with the tab, and Murray got stuck with the nickname. Murray never liked to buy gas, and Murray's car guzzled more gas than Murray drank free sodas at Patty the Tum's funeral. Murray always carried around a long piece of garden hose, and when that old rust bucket of his was running on fumes, he'd pull up beside another car. Then he'd hop out, take the end of the hose, stuff it in the gas tank of the other car, and start sucking. Now, you had to do this just right, or else you'd end up with a mouthful of high-octane, unleaded mouthwash. But just as the gas was through the tube, Murray'd pop the end he'd been sucking into his Heap's gas tank and siphon off all the gas from the other car. One night, Murray found himself out on a dark stretch of highway when his car began making its familiar coughing sound. But in his headlights, Murray could just make out the silhouette of something parked off to the side of the road up ahead. A relieved smile crept across Murray's face as his beloved jalopy coasted quietly to a stop. Murray silently hopped out of his car and went to look at his victim, a huge mobile home. Murray sneaked up quietly to the gas tank. Without a sound, he opened it and stuck the hose in. Then, with the practiced flair of a concert saxophonist, he placed the hose in his mouth, adjusted his embouchure, and began to suck. And nothing. Murray jiggled the hose around and tried again. He took a big breath and sucked on that hose for all he was worth. The hose fit him. But because Murray had sucked so hard, he wasn't prepared for the sudden gush that filled his mouth. It was a taste so bad, he thought he'd die. And what's worse, it didn't even taste like gas. Murray ran around spitting and gagging, trying to get the taste out of his mouth. He ran back to his car looking for mouthwash, antifreeze, anything. Desperate, Murray grabbed the pine tree deodorizer hanging from his rearview mirror and sucked on that. And all that noise had caused a commotion, and the door of the camper opened. A guy popped his head out and asked Murray if anything was wrong. Well, Murray was still out of gas, so he says, "I seem to have run out of gas. I don't suppose you could help me out." The guy in the camper, realizing he was Murray's only hope, said, "Sure, I got plenty, but it's all in my gas tank. I don't suppose you know how to siphon gas." A gentle smile washed over Murray the Moocher's face. "Well," he said, "I've heard about how you do it." Murray grabbed his trusty hose and walked over to the gas tank where he had just been. He was about to put the hose in when the camper owner stopped him. "On these vehicles, the gas tank is over here. Where you're standing is the holding tank for my toilet, and you sure wouldn't want to suck on that." This is a true story. Happened to a friend of mine, Murray the Moocher. You know who I mean. The guy who now brushes his teeth maybe 50 times a day.
Hey, what happened?
I was belly surfing in this big glob of slimy, thick green goo.
You were dreaming.
Oh, yeah, it's a recurring dream. You want to know what the thick, green, gooey stuff was?
Somebody stole my dinner. Again.
Actually, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but you know that trucker from Alabama? He coughed it up.
You were supposed to keep an eye on the sugar cube.
I love Southern food.
Nice try, Maurice. But I know you did it. You were the only one on this countertop.
I didn't do it.
You were the only one stupid enough to do it with everybody out there watching.
Gee, that would be stupid. It does sound like me.
I'm gonna prove you did it.
Oh, you dirty coppers! I'm not talking! Give me my lawyer!
You stole my sugar. Admit it.
I can't take this anymore. I'm thirsty.
Say you did it.
Anything to drink. Anything.
You don't get a drop till you say it, see?
I'm too thirsty. Too dry. Need a drink.
Look at this mess. Someone spilled the pail I was using to mop the floor.
Ah, water.
I know what. I'll get another piece of sugar, and I'll watch it, and I'll catch him in the act. Oh, yeah. Here's another freaky story.
This is a true story. It happened to a friend of a friend of a friend of mine. It was back in '63, and if you asked me, it was a very, very dangerous time.
'Cause love was blind.
The boy's name was Frankie, his true love was Annette. It happened on a Friday night, they were parked in his Corvette. Out at Lover's Leap, the place was jammed with cars. 100 moonstruck teenagers were gazing at the stars. Frankie and his baby, they were so much in love, a-hugging and a smooching under the stars above. The radio played softly, the late night lovers bash. Then suddenly the DJ said,
"We interrupt for this news flash. A man has escaped from the prison for the criminally insane. When apprehended late last year, he had a fridge full of pickled grain. He's a homicidal killer who hunts on Lover's Lane. Before they caught him last time, 20 terrorized teens were slain. This maniac is running wild, and he has a scary look. Where his right hand, it ought to be, he's got a razor-sharp hook. So if you're at the sub races or riding on that night train, get home while the getting's good, because the hook is right deranged.
Watch out for the hook. Watch out for the hook. Watch out for the hook. Watch out for the hook.
Annette, she quaked and Frankie sneered. The cars all squealed away. She said,
Let's go, I'm scared, Frankie.
he said,
Come on, baby, stay. The night is young. I'm big and strong, so you don't have to fear. Besides, by now the hook must be 100 miles from here.
She looked into his big brown eyes. She could not resist. She threw her arms around him, and they kissed and kissed and kissed. Then suddenly a twig snapped. Annette said,
What was that?
and Frankie said,
It's nothing. A dog, a coon, or a cat.
But Annette glanced in the mirror, and something caught her eye. A glint of moon on metal that made her scream and cry.
Get me out of here right now. I'm not kidding around.
cranked the car, peeled his tires across the lot, and grumbled all the way to town. Their evening had been shot. But when they got to her place and he went to her car door, Frankie's face went ghostly white like it had never been before. And Annette said,
Frankie, you okay? You look really shook.
Then he fainted dead away, so she got out to take a look. But as she opened up her door, she heard a clanking sound. She looked down at the door handle, and this is what she found.
A hook, there she found a hook. A hook, there she found a hook. A hook, watch out for the hook.
Shh. This time I'll get him. As soon as he comes out to...
What's going on, Ted? I keep cleaning off this table and somebody keeps putting sugar back on it. Here.
Does this mean I have to apologize to Maurice? I don't think so. Now, to close out this show about crime, a little joke. Get ready, Shaky! What do you get when you cross a dog with a chicken?
Poached eggs! You see what I did there?